Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Katie and I am currently training for a sprint triathlon in March of 2026. And this video is going to be a reflection of how everything has gone in January, briefly, and then I'm also going to talk about a couple of hobbies that I've done in January, things that I've mentioned in my vlogs, and a couple books that I've read. So really just here for the vibes. If you're here for the vlogs, don't worry, they're coming back next week, coming back strong. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of take a few minutes to reflect on some of this stuff because I think it helps me and I just enjoy talking about it. So without further ado, let's talk about triathlon progress and training throughout January, some overall numbers, and then just some reflecting questions. So looking at my numbers overall, so I split my training into strength and then run, bike, swim. So like weightlifting, run, bike, swim, basically. And in the month of January, I spent 2 hours and 44 minutes doing strength training, which is down quite a bit. I think I had 4 hours or something like that in December, which both of those sound really low, but it's because I just do it twice a week. Sometimes it only happens once a week, but I definitely think that prioritizing it more would be good, just to make sure that I don't get injured down the line. Looking at my run stats, this month I actually ran more than I did last month. I ran 52.2 miles. I don't know what that comes out to in kilometers off the top of my head, but it's a 19% increase from last month. So that's really good. Bike wise, I biked 45.7 miles, which is actually only a 1% difference than the month prior. So steady there, but honestly, I should probably be biking a little bit more considering it's the longest part of the race. And then my swim really suffered this month. I think it's because we had some cold and rainy days, and I typically swim in an outside pool. And I also was out of town for a weekend. So that kind of impacted it. But yeah, I only swam 1.9 miles throughout the whole month, which Strava said was down 58% because I swam like over 4 miles in December. And I can definitely feel it. That's when I can definitely feel the difference in. Like when I go to the pool now, I can really tell that I have not been swimming as much. But that's okay. Something I wanted to do was actually answer these 3 questions. So I had a preceptor in pharmacy school who at the end of every day of our rotation, she would ask us, what's something that you did well? What is something that you learned? And what is something that you want to improve on moving forward? And I've always really enjoyed that, and I want to do it here. So the first question is, what is something that you did well? Or what is something that I did well this month? I think I'm going to say running. I think prioritizing running, as well as biking. I did clip-ins for the first time last weekend, and I did pretty well with it, honestly. And I had been delaying taking my bike in, so I'm glad I did that. But obviously my run progress or my run distance has gone a lot up this month. It definitely is the most accessible of the 3 activities, so I think that's really good. So definitely proud of myself for increasing run distance and for trying clip-ins on the bike for the first time. The next question is, what is something that you learned? So with increasing my run distance, I think I learned that my form, my running form, is different on the treadmill, because I definitely noticed that my knees were a lot more sore and my ankles, maybe I'm running more on my toes to brace the impact of the treadmill. But I think that's useful because it might be good for me to consider doing some elliptical stuff if I have to stay inside, or just really try to run outside so that I'm not always having the impact of the belt moving against my feet when I land, because that definitely didn't feel very good, but I was still able to recover okay from it. And then what is something that I want to improve moving forward? I think something I want to improve, just moving forward in general, is actually planning my weight sessions. I'm not planning them at all. I'm going to the gym and I'm basically winging it because I'm oh, I've been lifting weights for a long time. But honestly, a huge goal for February is going to be just having planned sessions and doing those sessions on repeat, because the mental fatigue of having to plan it out makes it so I don't push as hard and makes me less likely to go. So I want to plan my sessions out, have an easy way to track them. That's a goal. And I think it will help. Anytime I've had a plan that I follow in the gym, I always do better. I think I've just been so exhausted learning the other three activities that I've been like, oh, whatever, I'll just go lift, but I'm not going to neglect it anymore. That's kind of the goal for triathlon. I guess one other thing that I want to improve is actually doing more brick rides. I've only done one so far. So I do want to try to do at least like 2 brick workouts in February leading up to the race, just so I can get used to running off the bike with really tired legs. But a couple of the other things I wanted to update you guys on. So you may have seen that I was starting a blanket. This is kind of where the triathlon part of the video ends, so I understand if you want to click away. But if you like crafting, if you like crochet, if you like books, you'll like this part. So I am working on this blanket for my cats and my husband. I think I showed you guys the yarn. I don't have a ton done yet because I tried a few different stitches, but I'm liking how this is looking, and the cats have already discovered it and are already making it difficult to work on. So I think that means it's going well. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is just a couple books that I read this month because I like them and I want to chat about them. So the first book I read this year was, I'm going to hold it on the other hand, was That's a Great Question, I'd Love to Tell You. This is by Elise Myers, who is obviously a super famous TikToker, but she has always just been such a great storyteller. I've always connected with her stories so well and felt very seen, and I don't know, I've always felt very relatable with them. I've always felt that they saw through me a bit. So this was the first book I read, and I read it so fast. I do not read fast. I think I read this in a couple days, maybe a few days, but it's essentially a collection of short stories covering from when she's a really little kid to her marrying her husband, and it's just so thoughtful and unique, and there's little bits of poetry throughout it, there's illustrations throughout it, there's journal entries throughout it that if you've listened to her content, you've heard her read from her journal before, and some of those entries are in here. So it's really cool. It's very raw, very sweet. Highly recommend. And then another book I finished, which I did not feel as passionately about, is Divine Rivals. And some people aren't going to like me for not being obsessed with this book because it has a vice grip on a lot of people. It's actually the first book in a duology. It's essentially the 2 characters get to know each other by writing letters to one another. And I loved that. One of them becomes a wartime correspondent, but they're both journalists. So they're rival journalists who, end up falling in love, whatever. But it's happening in wartime, and it's a really interesting exploration of war and grief and all of that. I really enjoy that. But there's a fantasy element in the background the whole time that, I guess spoilers if you don't want to know something, but it's not really a spoiler, but the fantasy element becomes really prevalent at the end of this book. And I kind of feel like it could have just been a standalone. It was so good. It was really good. And then it kind of ruins itself by just flipping everything on its head at the end. And I've heard the second one isn't as good. So I don't know. I did really like it. I didn't like the ending, and it kind of is ruining it for me. I don't think I'll finish this duology, but if you feel differently or if you think I should read the second one, please let me know. I would love to hear your comments. But yeah, I don't know. Didn't love it. I got a little stuck in the middle of that one as well. I had a long time where I took a break from reading it. And then right now I have a couple books I'm reading, and they're completely different, but both have movies coming out soon, and I'm a big movie person. So the first one I'm reading is Project Hail Mary, which is a sci-fi novel written by Andy Weir. It's one of his 3 novels, and it's pretty funny. I didn't realize how funny these are. I have not read any of his other works. I've heard The Martian's incredible, but this is very funny. I'm only a quarter of the way through, but I'm gripped. I'm thinking about this book all the time. I'm doing something, I'm thinking about what's going on and what's going to happen. It is very gripping. So loving it so far. And then the other book I'm reading, polar opposite, Wuthering Heights. Okay. Gothic romance novel written by Emily Bronte, published I think in 1958. This is probably the oldest book I have ever read. I think it's the oldest book I've ever read, and I'm glad I got this Penguin Classics edition because it basically will translate the Old English with a bunch of footnotes throughout it, which I need. But I'm intrigued. I'm not as far into it because it takes me longer to read, but I really want to read it before the movie comes out. And I am extremely intrigued. I really do enjoy being immersed in the world. I was worried I would hate it, but honestly, I'm having a great time. And I'm really curious to see how I feel about the movie after I read the book. So If you've read this, let me know. It seems like it's a lot of people's favorite books, and then some people like can't stand it. I don't know. So it seems pretty divided, but I've heard really, really high praises for this book before and wanted to give it a try. Without further ado, that's really all I had. I just wanted to chat. I wanted to document a few things, and I wanted to just have this for the future, because sometimes I think it's funny when you're like, oh, weird, I was like training for a triathlon at the same time that I was like reading these books or doing this craft, or this thing was going on in my life. And so I just kind of wanted to log that here. Let me know if you guys are interested in crocheting or reading. Like, what books are you reading right now? I've tried listening to audiobooks like while I bike before, but I've kind of struggled because I just don't think I found the right one. So if you have recommendations for that, I would love it, especially as these rides are getting longer. If there's like books or podcasts that you guys listen to, let me know. Please let me know in the comments below. Anyways, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. It really helps me a lot. And I will see you guys in the vlog next week. Bye.